Hello, I thought I'd do a quick tournament review for a tournament I've been to recently. It was another local tournament, 600 points at the Milton Keynes Wargames Workshop, run by the Milton Keynes Outriders. These are the local ones I really enjoy, so I try to go to these ones if I can. Um, so I have played one game this edition the week it came out. Um, Going into this tournament, I mean. So I didn't really know what I was doing, what the missions are like, or anything really. um, so I got talked into using Lurtz's scouts, which seems pretty good because they're pretty idiot proof, but still pretty spicy. The list was pretty simple. It's basically Lurtz, Ugluck, and a captain, and then you just get as many scouts as you can. One banner, and then a third of the scouts with bows. I ended up not taking a drum, so very simple list indeed. 41 models at 600 points, pretty nice. So this is the Legendary Legion where Lurtz can heroic combat for free, and then the Uruks move 8 inches and have woodland creature. So that's pretty nice. Yeah, so I mean that was it really. So I'm only going to give a very brief overview of things. Um, Partly because I'm recording this like a week after, because I've been sick pretty much all week, and my memory's a bit rubbish about all the sort of specifics of what happened. So it's kind of more of a brief overview, and then just to remind people I still exist, and hopefully I'm gonna put out probably kind of battle reports. Hopefully, I'm hoping to get a battle report out sort of by mid-April, so that'll be cool. But anyway, yeah, let's just get into game one. Right, so game one. I forgot to say this tournament used the veto system. So although there's only 6 scenarios, it kind of meant that we were gonna, scenarios going to be chosen multiple times. Basically, there's no way to avoid that till the match play guide's out because the game's in a slightly weird place at the moment. Um, I can't remember what my opponent vetoed, but I vetoed Recon, which I would have been really good at, but I just really didn't want to play it because I just really couldn't be bothered. So we ended up with playing to the death. I was against host of the Witch King. So that's the Angmar, to say Legendary Legion. They're all Legendary Legions, aren't they? That's the Angmar main Angmar army list. So it had beefy Witch King on horse, and then 2 werewolves, Barrow White, an Orc Captain, a few shades and Warg Riders thrown in, and then just loads of Orcs. So pretty straightforward as far as as far as the list goes. So I so the board was Rohan Village, so just sort of a building broken. A board broken up by a few buildings. I deployed each warband sort of in a different gap because I had sort of 2 buildings on my side. I just kind of put one in the middle and then one either side of it. The plan was basically just to draw him in with shooting and then try and get him in a position where I could surround him. So yeah, that was pretty much the plan. He pretty much put all his orcs in the middle. He split up some dudes with his captain and kind of sent them off to one side, and then the Witch King and the majority of his orcs went to another side. He had a Wild Rider and a werewolf and 3 Wild Riders on sort of either flank to basically threaten flanks. So I had Lurtz on my left flank, and I ended up being able to be fairly cheeky in when he moved up his sort of flanking force to threaten me. I was able to charge it with multiple stuff. I kind of just boxed out his main force, and I think I had a couple of combats, but nothing major. So I could sort of delay his main sort of Witch King force getting involved, and then clean up that stuff on the flank, which I did with a Lurtz heroic combat. And sent the banner and a few friends that way. So he sort of cleaned up there whilst I sort of haloed the main force a bit. And then in the middle, Ugluck, sort of his part of his force, was helping with the halo thing, and then some of it went after the captain, his little merry warband, because I could get to grips with them a lot easier because no courage tests, because there was no hero spirit models. So I was able to sort of surround and get to grips with that force. And then eventually his flanking force came back right around my rear, and I sent an Uruk captain and some friends to sort of box them out and deal with them. Because there were no enemy heroes there, I kind of had control in terms of just being able to call a move that was uncounterable. So I'd be able to get the charge basically. So that was pretty nice. So yeah, in terms of combats, I cleaned up the captain and his force in the middle, although the captain did very well and he killed a whole bunch of Uruks, which was surprising, but it was good. It was I think it's probably MVP, to be fair, because you sort of expect him to go down to some Uruks with bad dice rolling, but even did a combat or two, I think, so that was pretty good for him. So I cleaned him up, and like I said, the Uruk captain came back and he cleaned up the werewolf and those Wargriders there, and he didn't really do anything else by the end of the game. Ugluk then sort of carried on murdering stuff and then came back in behind to try and take the Barrow Wight out, because the Barrow Wight hadn't really been casting many spells, and the Witch King had cast sort of a few things but nothing major. And I believe I kept winning all the hero roll-offs, so I was able to tie up the Witch King and keep the Barrow Wight 6 inches away from anything actually worth paralysing by sort of boxing him in. I did quite well on the courage test. There are a few turns where I didn't do too great, because obviously he had his terror bubble up because of where his spirit heroes were, and Harbinger of Evil was not nice either. But yeah, I was able to kind of box them out for most of the game. And then there was one turn where I left my banner not in base contact with anyone, and I think the Witch King, what did he do? I think he cast, it might have even just been a black dart at him, but failed to kill him, which was fortunate for me because that would have been bad. And in the end, once Lurtz cleaned up that flank, I basically, him and the banner and then a friend to pick up the banner in case the worst should happen, basically ran away to protect those victory points. And not too much else to say. I didn't really touch the Witch King. He was fine. He kind of didn't do anything the whole game really. He killed a few Uruks, but he didn't have a massive impact. One turn he did cast Instill Fear, which in this edition, because I'm used to it where it kind of clears a path, which would have been quite helpful for him actually, where everyone takes courage tests and potentially sort of moves out of the way. But this one just made all my Uruks fearful for a turn, so I had double courage tests, which wasn't super appealing. But yeah, other than that, main thing is I tried to get Ugluk in the back to kill the Barrow Wight. He got boxed out and killed. He did get paralysed in the end. I think he had a couple of opportunities to kill the Barrow Wight and just couldn't get it right, and then he got sort of cornered, and I think he was paralysed, and in the end, in fact, I think there was one turn where he lost. He was trapped, and he had an orc with two-handed weapon, 2 orcs, and then Barrow Wight, and failed to kill him. And then he paralysed him the next turn, and then killed him. So there was some pretty guff rolling there from my opponent there. But yeah, no, that's kind of how it ended. So the Witch King untouched, Lurtz untouched. Both had a banner because he was able to effectively protect his banner. I killed loads of orcs and wasn't broken. I was not far off losing half of my men, but I forgot that obviously I break at 66%, so actually I was quite far off taking courage tests, although I nearly gave away the VPs for being broken. But we timed out. I think we're probably one turn away from it ending, so I think I'd have 25%ed him at that point, and I may have been broken, so it would have changed the VP slightly, but not the outcome of the game, I think. Because it was quite tight. I think basically I broke him whilst not being broken. I think all the other points were the same. Because we both killed a hero. He killed Ugluk, I killed the captain. It was I felt like I was sort of rolling up the orcs, but actually in terms of objectives it was quite close. But it was a really good game, and I really enjoyed playing that opponent. It was a really good game to get back into things. But I can't remember the exact score, but I was 1-0 up at this point. So on to game 2. So game 2, I'm probably going to be even more brief. So I vetoed to the death because I was against a list of Rivendell Knights, Elrond, 17 Knights, 2 with banner. Quite a straightforward list. I did not fancy just being shot to pieces and kited, so I vetoed to the death. I think he vetoed recon, I want to say, or hold ground. Honestly, can't remember. Um, so we ended up playing Destroy the Supplies. I wasn't sure about this because I kind of wasn't feeling confident. 'Cause there's just so many cavalry and they hit so hard. I find it really hard to stop them filtering through my lines and taking my objectives. And on the flip side, I have 41 models. They're all really fast, and you're going to struggle to box them all out. So yeah, it's sort of a good matchup. So I didn't sort of mess about. I didn't call any marches because I sort of spread out to cover the three objectives. So I broadly deployed as three war bands sort of away from each other. So I didn't sort of just bubble up and march, and that was partly sort of a terrain consideration as well. So basically, I just spent 2 turns moving full. I didn't bother trying to shoot despite having all my bows because I lost seven bows to shooting. I think it was in the first 2 turns, so that wasn't great. And then there was one turn where I had to go first because I lost the priority roll off, and then he made me go first, which was obviously not great for me. I thought I took great pains to sort of measure 10 inches and then be just outside of that, because the idea being that he couldn't charge me that turn. I'd cop around a shooting, but then the following turn, there's basically a chance, isn't there, that if I can force him to move first, then he has to either move back off the objectives or, suffer sort of me moving really far up the board. So it kind of forces him into a difficult position. And then, if I win the move off after that, hopefully I can go the game without taking a sort of full frontal charge. Obviously, it could, it's still just, luck about priorities and move off. So there's a chance I could have taken a full charge. Either way, it seems like something went horribly wrong because my entire line ended up getting charged anyway. So basically, there was one turn where just all of the knights charged my entire front rank. So obviously, I wasn't great at measuring or something. I just got absolutely annihilated. There's a lot of Rivendell 6s coming up as well, and you can't really do much about that. Dead Power mounted up very, very, very quickly. Luckily, I'll quickly go over it. On my left side, I had Lurtz and the banner, and then a bunch of dudes. It basically took him about 3 turns to clean up that entire lot, including Lurtz losing a strike off, because I think he had three I think I probably spent 2 on moves, and then a final one on a strike just against Elrond, charging Elrond. It's just like, well, I can't defend, I can't. So once I lost that roll off and got charged by Elrond, I just had to go for the Hail Mary with a strike, lost the strike off, and Lurtz died to Elrond. There's not much to say beyond that. I did kill a few knights over there, but mostly it all sort of went off on the other side where I had Lurtz and the captain. He didn't have any heroes, so it meant that I was able to I copped obviously 1 turn of charging, which wasn't great, but then every other time I was calling the heroics I needed to basically control that side, and I killed a whole bunch of knights, which was cool. And yes, I broke him. In fact, I think he killed 50% of my models 1 turn, but I wasn't taking courage tests yet because of the 66% rule thing. And then the following turn, I took 66% and he was broken, so we kind of on courage tests at the same time. I was able to sort of, because like I said, my sort of left had entirely collapsed. I left a few guys back on the objectives to sort of just delay, basically, so that they couldn't be sort of destroyed without, basically forcing them to fight me, so it couldn't be destroyed that turn. But loads of them ran away, so my left objective was left open, which got destroyed. I was able to cover the middle one sufficiently so that didn't get destroyed, and the right one, he was sort of not near that one. And then for my part, I used a Gluck's head taker rule to pass courage test, and I had enough Uruks there to sort of tag and kill what was left, and then destroy his centre and left objectives, and then the game ended because I got 25% at that turn. Because I think, literally I was 1 turn of courage test, a whole bunch of stuff ran away, more stuff died, and that was me quartered. So it ended to, I I destroyed 2 supplies, he destroyed 1, but I lost my leader. I had no banners because I killed one of his banners, but he still had one next to Elrond. So yeah, it was the kind of the leader kill and banners that tipped it over towards him. So that was a very quick game, very bloody game. I think I kind of did what I could in the, I mean, obviously there was a sort of measuring issue the first turn by the sounds of it. So I copped a whole bunch of charges, which if that had not happened, then there's a small chance maybe I don't get charged at all. But then Rivendell Knights are gonna sort of contrive a way in which they definitely get 1 charge. So in a way, it didn't really make much difference apart from it happened a little further sort of towards the centre of the board rather than sort of gaining a bit more space, which would have helped with objectives. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I lost some key roll-offs with Lurtz and the heroic move-offs, and then where I could, I called the heroic moves, and I did combats as well. So I called a heroic move with Ugluk, I think, and then combat with both the captain and Ugluk, and just cleaned up a whole bunch of Rivendell Knights in 1 turn. So I kind of did what I could, but I think it was kind of that was that really, and yeah, maybe a couple of key courage tests at the back might have protected my back left objective, but it kind of felt kind of right in how it ended. So that was all good. But yeah, my first loss of the new edition. So I was 1 for 1 at the moment. On to game 3. Game 3 was a bit of an odd one. So it was domination against a Thorin's company list, but it had Thorin as leader, Gandalf, Radagast on sleigh, and then Gwaihir. So four models total. I didn't really know how to approach this one. I didn't really have an answer for Gwaihir and the sleigh and all the magic, so my idea was basically to use my heroes to hopefully have a go at Radagast and Gandalf and Thorin, and basically just hope that Gwaihir can be sort of kept at bay, and basically just play the objectives. I could have sat back and done some shooting. Maybe that would have been better, but I just thought that 2 of his pieces moved so quickly that I wasn't sure if there was much point, and then I lose a whole bunch of board control. I think as it turns out, I think I'd probably still stick broadly with what I did as a strategy, which is kind of deploy quite aggressively, just to maximise that board control, because it turned out to be quite a quick game. So I didn't really have time to be sort of hoofing it up and down the board. So anyway, turn 1 I lose priority. Gwaihir charges in, and Radagast charges in too. I think the story really here is of me losing a whole bunch of combats really. To be fair, the first impact hit, I think he killed something with the first impact hit and didn't with the second with the sleigh, so that was pretty gnarly. And again, Gwaihir was just charging chaff, and Gandalf and Thorin were again just charging chaff. So I was kind of hoping to keep them in play long enough for me to bring Lurtz round and start causing some trouble. But then everyone just sort of started dying, and I think I won 1 combat the whole game. Maybe I'm being dramatic and it was 2. I think it was only 1. So basically, it kind of, I suppose it's sort of irrelevant what I did, because I just kept losing. Even when I had loads of dice, I just kept losing, and then the higher fight, when you rolled the 6, it's kind of like, well, or maybe you got a 5, but even I rolled loads of dice and got a 4 or something. It's just kind of one of those. So Gwaihir killed a bunch of dudes, and then following turn, because obviously I kept calling heroic moves to try and pin stuff down, but I think I had lost the key ones. And then turn 2, I kind of had, because I had an anti-fly formation thing going, but kind of having those guys kill turn 1, and then trying to sort of set up so I couldn't be charged turn 2, but then losing, obviously losing the priority and the heroic, heroic move roll off. It basically meant that obviously Radagast went in and he killed a bunch of stuff this time with impact hits, but then Guahir sort of went in, barged, and then got into Ugluk. So you had Radagast on the scout captain and Guahir on Ugluk. And again, I hid them behind loads of stuff, but the impact hits and the barge just just made it wide open. They basically both died, so that was good. Thorin was just sort of chopping up some random Uruks, didn't really matter. Gandalf, I think, is possibly turn 2. That's the turn I won the combat, and I had 4 Uruks and Lurtz on a trapped Gandalf, and I think I caused 4 wounds total, which was not great, bearing in mind Lurtz needed force to wound. And then, basically Gandalf, I think he used all his fate, and he ended up... No, I think he used 2 of his fate, and then ended up with 1 wound, 1 fate, or something like that. And then after that, basically, Lurtz was neutralised by magic, and then the story is basically being taken apart by heroes and losing every single combat from there. So then Lurtz died, all my Uruks died, and there was obviously magic shenanigans going on as well, so it wasn't great, but I'd sort of split off Uruks to cover all of the objectives, and there's obviously a few sort of points of finer detail, but ultimately I ended up with 3 objectives, and I think he ended up with 2, but obviously he killed my leader and broke me. And I think, to add insult to injury, I think Radagast renewed Gandalf, so I can't remember if he did it once or twice, but Gandalf ended up basically back to full health. So I think the net result is my entire army had been almost annihilated, and then Gandalf had suffered 1 wound, and then potentially another renew, and then he'd be a good as new. So that was an interesting one. It's one of those where I felt like there's nothing I could really do, but maybe I sit back and shoot some stuff. I think if I shot Radagast off his sleigh, that might have helped. That could have been an option. It's playing a bit smarter, maybe. But it's also one of those where I was in combat, I lost every single combat, and it's just like there's only so much you can do. Ugluk losing strike off with Guahir, which obviously he was probably going to, but obviously you can't defense or anything. So, anyway, so that was it. So I ended up with 1 win, 2 losses this time, so just good to get back and roll some dice and play the new edition and stuff. But I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I'll catch you on the next one.